So hi YouTube, I've got a very unusual job that came to the shop. This is a beautiful fabric that was upholstered recently, not by me. Probably about 10 years, but there's nothing wrong with the fabric at all. But the seat, the springs have, yikes, have on the top are starting to, fail. The twines are starting to break, and so we have to surgically, I'm going to show you how to surgically take this apart. You have to be real careful because we have to reuse the fabric. So one of the, when I was consulting the customer, she was surprised I could do it. She was really devastated. She thought she'd have to upholster the whole thing, but we're going to repair this. We're going to do a good job. This is a technique that we're going to use in order to do this. And once you follow along with me and the tools that I use, I'm not going to be too aggressive with this, obviously, because I have to reuse the fabric. But we don't have to go too crazy with removing it, as long as we can get through certain areas, and I'll show you. So let's begin. The first thing, unfortunately, we have a base welt. So I say that because it's a little harder to undo, and I'm only going to undo the base welt right from here all the way over to the other side. I'll show you why in a minute. But what I like to do is take a chisel and just gently do some tapping, just to kind of get this moving, just to see what we're up against, right? Let's just move this very gently. Okay, so that, with all the chairs, sometimes the staples come out a little easier. So that came out pretty good. So we're not going to care about, the only thing we don't care about is the cambric, right? So I'm going to rip the cambric. It's the only thing I can rip, really. And what motivation there is, maybe I could take some staples out as I'm pulling this, right? To help me a little bit, some leverage. So we use leverage a lot when we're doing something like this. So, yeah, we use a couple of staples come out there. That's good. Now let's go back and focus up here to see what we got. A couple of them came out. Let's just see. Sometimes when you get it going, yeah, see, so that one's not going to come out. So you have to be careful. So some people like an awl to get underneath that. I like to use the flat end of a chisel very gently to do this because I think it's a little bit safer. I don't think I'm going to mess up as much as I could with a sharp instrument. So I use a dull instrument. I'm using leverage. I'm using the leverage of the welt to get in between here. Just do a little tapping. Yeah, so I'm going to try, that's working out okay, but then I'm going to try something else. I'm going to come down here where it's pieced. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pieced right here. And I'm going to undo this to see if I can pull this gently using my leverage again, right? It's another technique. You can lift and then get under with your side cutters. See that? And what you're not doing with the side cutters is you're not pressing down hard, you're not ripping the fabric, right? You're using the leverage of the, see, so that works out pretty good. Sometimes when you get to a point, let's see, sometimes, you have to be careful when you do that, you can actually pull it. Yeah, it worked a little bit. You can grab the salvage, not with your side cutters, but maybe with a pair of pliers, because again, they're flat, right? I don't have my pliers handy, but I'm going to show you with the side cutters. So what you want to do is with the pair of pliers, you can try to pull the fabric. Notice I'm using my hand as leverage down here too. Just trying to get it easier, whatever I can do to make my job a little easier here. Okay, look at it, I got all that undone there. Okay, I'm going to go back now and get the staples that came up. So the idea is that you're going easy. Now, you have to know your fibers or your fabric too. I see a problem right here where they went really close to the edge here, so I have to be careful right there. But let's just see on the bigger pieces with the flap. Let's see if I can pull. And then here I need to focus. I need to actually take out one staple at a time. That's a little nerve-wracking. let's see if we can pull this up. We're lucky that this is an older chair and it has, you know, wood that has been stapled and tacked before, so our staples aren't holding as well as it would if it was a solid ash and brand new. So guess what? I think I'm going to need a sharper instrument for that tool. There's a staple that's not coming out very well. So with your sharp instruments, make sure you're always going down, not this way, right? So I'm gonna, this is a tack remover. You can use an awl too to get underneath the staple. Lift up. And I think we got another one, another toughie there. Let's just get that. Yeah, we got one side done, isn't that great? Now, let's see our piping. See if we can grab the salvage and give that a pull. Yep, look at that, huh? So what I'm doing here is I'm folding it. Instead of grabbing it from the end, I'm folding it right here. I have enough fabric, and then I'm using leverage. Look at that. Now again, this fabric is a fabric that I know I can get away with doing that because it won't rip. It's a very highly woven fabric, so be careful. If you had a silk here or some types of linen, and you did what I did, you'd rip all the way up the outside back. And then what do? You call a customer and say, guess what? I made a mistake. That's not a call you want to do. So you have to, you know, if you have a fabric, you have to kind of go a little easier. And sometimes you have to take the awl and go under every staple. I'm lucky with this so far, right? Now look what I did there. Now you have to be careful. You want to remove some staples here and then wrap the welt around your hand. You get a good feel for what you can do with the fabric when you do that. You know, if it's too much resistance, hold off because you could still rip it, right? So now we got one more side to do. We have a lot of staples in this corner for some reason. Got one more staple, and that's usually the one that gets you, so be careful. That's the one that will rip you, right? So let's make sure we go gentle on that one. Undo that one. Okay, good. Okay, so we have that undone. Let's bring this up. So we have to bring this up a little bit on the arms here to get it to seat. But they used a ply grip, so usually you could just pull. If you pull it in a way, and guess what, you guys? You can reuse that ply grip. Okay, so here's a little tip. Probably on this video, this is the best tip I'm going to give you probably. You can lift these up. You don't have to replace this ply grip. You know, ply grip has those little prongs in it. And sometimes you have to bend it back like this. This one was bent over this way because I pulled it. But watch what I do now, because when we use the ply grip, we hit it with the hammer, and then those little prongs, they fold around the fabric, and that's what holds the fabric. Take a regulator, and very carefully, let's see if I can show you this. You can poke the prongs back, and you have a brand new piece. You have a brand new, some of them didn't even fold over. There was only one in there. There's 3 prongs in this area, only one of them. And then you got little things like this that you could get another staple in there at some point, okay, because the staple here has come out a little bit. Okay, now let's go to the other side and fold that up. It's cool, isn't it, you guys? Sometimes I like doing repairs. So what we're going to do is gently pull this. Now on this side, our ply grip came with us a little bit, so I'm glad that happened for you. You can see what I'm going to do. So you now we need to go back and undo the ply grip from the fabric. Pull it up. Okay, so what I'm going to do when I'm ready, I'll do a little bit of it now. I'm going to fold these. Be careful now. Ply grip can be very sharp, so you have to be careful. You can use a tool to do this. Take all the staples out, and then pull the flange back flat. Okay, because what happens is you close this up, so you have to open it. Open it. Good. We don't have to go too far. Take that staple out, and I'll get to that in a minute, you guys. Okay, now we're going to take this and flap this up carefully, right? The fabric. Flap it out of the way. And then we're going to flap up our dacron. I'm going to just kind of tuck it up into the fabric. I'm not ripping anything, you guys. I'm just going to tuck it up there. And now we have the stretcher fabric that the upholsterer used, just to kind of form. And then we're just gonna, we don't have to be as careful with this, you guys, right? This is the stretcher. That's not the fabric. So we can be a little bit more aggressive here. I'm gonna take each one of these and fold it and get that out of the way. I'm going to do that all the way around. Do you hear that rip? That would have been a disaster right here, and that's why I'm saying I'm not too worried about that. But it would be it would end the whole game if we did it up here, right? So this is only a stretcher. It's just to form the back. Yes, it's one thing you don't want to usually hear in an upholstery shop is that ripping sound, right? It's like hearing oops in an operating room. Or something like, is it the left leg or the right leg? That's bad. Let's just tuck this up. Tuck this up. Tuck this up. So what we see here now, you guys, we see the inside backs and the inside arms stapled over the seat, which we have to undo the whole thing. And so guess what? I don't have to be as careful here either, because this isn't a finished area, right? So I'm just going to undo. Notice that so far I'm using a lot of my side cutters for this, right? And this is the seat portion that I'm undoing now. That's a lot of staple, you guys. Notice sometimes I turn my ply grips over to get better leverage. See that? I try to draw out all my skills to do a quick job. You know, I'm not even at the reupholstery part yet, right? So you price these things out, you guys, you know. You imagine how long this is going to take you. In this case, I priced it out that it would take me 2.5 hours to 3 hours to do. That's how it was priced. If it takes me an hour, that's great. I could tell you that 3 hours is based on taking one of these staples out at a time. So I'm a little happy that the staples are coming out the way they are. But I haven't even gotten into the chair yet, so I don't know. We could run into problems there. And you know, and I wouldn't advise you calling your customer and saying, you know, I made a mistake, I need to charge you more. don't do that. I mean, you're supposed to be the expert, right? Even you're not a. I never do that. I usually, you can try to make it up for the next job. You know, your customer would appreciate it. Okay, so now I'm going to see if I've released the seat enough to flap it back. What I don't want to do, hopefully I don't have to come in here to undo any of this, because that's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more delicate. Another thing too is notice how you guys, I'm looking at my hands. I'm looking at my hands to see if I'm bleeding. I do that oftentimes when you're working on new material or material that's only going to be repaired or a chair that's going to be repaired. Make sure you're not cut. You can cut yourself and not know it, and then that could be a disaster. So get used to looking at your hands both back and the front. Okay, you'll see me do that. If I'm upholstering, you'll see me do that a few times. Okay, let's see if we can get this. Okay, great, we got that flap back. I'm actually going to remove this piece. I'm going to take a regulator, try to pull this back as much as I can. I'm going to lift off the padding. Wow, what a mess we got in here, you guys. I think the upholsterer probably should have tied the springs. I wouldn't, I have no idea how old it is, so I probably shouldn't say anything. But anyhow, I'm going to remove this piece. This is not doing us any good. That was a piece that a replacement for muslin, and it was a heavy piece of upholstery fabric that I don't like. Okay, guess what? I got this whole piece off. Talk about surgery, huh? That piece is off. I'm just going to put this down on the floor for now. I'm going to bring this up to the camera to show you what's going on here. Oh, and I'm happy because I just realized that I can do this without removing anything else. That's what I was looking at. But I want to show you something. I mean, look at the mess. So let's remove the burlap. Guess what? We're going to have to undo a little bit more of this. So I don't think I can get all my work done in there. So look what I have to do now, you guys. I have to remove this portion here, up top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piping, outside arm piping off. Bring that up there. You see what this entails now is a little bit more. I got to get under the arm that's coming over and then undo this border, which is put on with blind tack tape. Okay. The problem with that is if I didn't know how to hand stitch, I would have to take the whole thing off. But we know how to hand stitch, you guys. You have a hand stitching video on our channel that you can look at. But this had to be released. Now I can get at that. See that, you guys? So this video is about just how to dissect a piece without ripping the fabric. And you can, I'm going to take a little bit more of this off, and give you a couple of tips on how to go about hand tying the springs, and then putting the burlap on, and then just simply putting your seat stuffing back, and then bringing this in and upholstering it. This is going to be way too long for me to go into great detail, so what I'm going to do is show you that. So this will come off. This piece, now watch, see this piece got loose? So that piece is going to have to be tightened, okay? You can remove this, right? And then remove the burlap. Let me give you one more tip. Let's just remove this side while we're doing it. Let's go away with the removal process. I want to show you again, this ply grip has to come off. That can be reused. We undo the piping on the outside arm. We undo and then the inside arm has to be undone right there, and then the border has to be undone right to there. Wow. Now we're going to be earning our money, you guys. Right? Because more has to come apart. And that seat doesn't look pretty at all. Yeah, now we got the exposure. We got the whole thing exposed. Get rid of this. So we have to replace the first thing we're going to do is we're going to 8-way tie the springs, and you can see my video on that on YouTube. And then we're going to burlap it, and then we're going to put our edge roll on the front, a same size edge roll. We can't go up or down on the edge roll or anything for that matter. And then put our padding back, and once our padding is back, I'll just show you. Once our padding is back, we pick out all our staples that are left there, pull this back through here. Okay, and the first thing, we've left the integrity of the front, which is really important. I'd be a little worried about removing the border. That's a little sensitive area. And we're going to pull the fabric through to the back first and staple it on the back. The next thing on the sides is a pull to the fabric to the back this way, staple here, go to the other side, do the same thing, then pull it all down tight, okay, but not over tight, not like you've seen my videos where I'm showing you how to stretch fabrics. You have to kind of, if you want to pin tack that, okay, if you don't want to really commit to the staple right away, that's fine. And then it's a matter of just putting everything back. You know, you can just reverse what you did. I think you'll be able to figure that out. We actually have tutorials on how to put ply grip on too, so you can check that out. From beyond this, that what I showed you, use the YouTube channel, go through the library to check out all the other videos that we've done, and you'll be able to piece this together really well. Again, the best thing I can show you is how to take it apart in a way that's not going to ruin the fabric if you have one of these that comes in the shop. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you next time.